Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Pixelated Sausage Show. Hi. How's everyone doing? Hopefully better than me. And who is me? Me is Mark Kushnes. Hi, how are we doing? I already asked that. But I am, of course, your host, Mark Kushnes. I'm exhausted. I haven't gotten a lot of sleep this past week, and while I did finish Kingdom Come Deliverance, that whole experience, that whole game, that 2 weeks and 2 days of playing was exhausting, and I feel like I died a little, and I'll never get that energy back ever again. It was so much. You'll learn more, you'll see more, you'll hear more when those episodes of Attack the Backlog eventually go live. But we're not here to talk about that. I am here to talk about games, and it's primarily going to be what I've been playing because I don't know what happened news-wise, really. And I looked over and saw a bunch of stuff that I was like, except for the announcement of, alongside the release of the new DLC, which I don't believe they gave a release date for, the developers of Lies of P and that DLC, which I think is called Overture. But with the release of that DLC, the game will also get patched with the addition of a brand new slate of difficulty options. So as it is currently, Lies of P is like many a Souls-like game in that it has no difficulty options. It's just a difficult, challenging, presumably brutal, I've not played it myself, but a very challenging game that could turn a decent amount of people off. They might play it for a little bit, hit a brick wall, not be able to get over that wall, and give up on the game. Because it wasn't Game Pass, so there could have been a lot of people who tried it and put it aside because it was just too much for them. There are plenty of people who, when they see Souls-like as a genre, they don't think, oh, I can't wait to play this out. They think, oh God, this looked cool to me, but now that you say that, I know it's not for me. And part of the reason for that is because of the significant difficulty of those games. Typically, they're not all like that, but a vast majority of them, that's part of the appeal, you would say. However, I have always been of the mindset that including difficulty options, whether it be right up front or tucked away in the accessibility options, is a good thing. And with this changed Lies of P, it asks the question, should Souls games have difficulty options? And on a bigger question, I think I talked about this in the Kingdom Come Deliverance, one of the episodes that I recorded, but I can't remember. Maybe I even talked about this last episode. I know I talked about difficulty options and accessibility and all that recently, but I'm not entirely sure where it was because I've got my fingers in so many different pots already or right now. But should all games have difficulty options, whether it be in the basic starting of a game? Hey, do you want to play on beginner, normal, or hard? Well, easy, normal, hard. I don't know why I said beginner instead of easy, but do you want to play easy, normal, hard? Or if it's in accessibility options and it's just that, being the very standard selection of 3 difficulty options, or do you have sliders that allow you to adjust the challenge of the game? 200% extra health for your character, make the enemies 50% weaker, increase your damage, decrease enemy damage, increase the parry window, so on and so forth. I think I heard someone say when talking about this that Another Crab's Journey or Another Crab's Treasure, the way that handled that, because that is a Souls-like to my knowledge, there is an accessibility option that just gives you a gun and allows you to play through the game with a gun and kill everything easily with that. I love shit like that. I've always been behind this because I am of the mindset, and I would love to hear what others think about this topic specifically, but also I want to know what the argument is against this, because I don't see how there's any argument against this. Something I've talked about as well, in that I don't know what adding difficulty options to a game takes away from the experience. It's just giving you more options. You can give players, you can say playing it on hard, or you can even say fucking with your difficulty options. This is, you can call it hard or not, or default or something, but just say this is the way the game was intended to be played. It was designed around this specific difficulty, but if you are someone who finds it too challenging, or you want a more casual experience or whatnot, there are these lower difficulties. But this is the default, the way we intended it to be played, how we designed the game around. We designed it around this difficulty, so on and so forth. If you just say that, and it's not just, okay, you can choose how you want to play, easy, normal, or hard, and then people just assume normal is the way it's meant to be played. What does including other options take away from the experience? You don't have to play on those easier ones now that they're there. So is there something about the fact that more people can now experience this game that you, let's hypothetically say you love it. Let's use Bloodborne as an example. You love Bloodborne. Does the game adding difficulty options, allowing more people to play it, take away from your experience? Is there something that makes your experience lesser now that more people can play and enjoy this game you love? Does that ruin it for you? If so, you're an asshole. If so, fuck you. And if so, what's your fucking problem? I don't get it. I would want nothing more than to have something I love be experienced by more people, or to be open to more people, for more people to be able to play and enjoy that game. Or, I mean, you can't really use that with a movie or whatever, outside of saying that maybe you love, for instance, The Thing, and I do love The Thing. I adore The Thing. But they edit it. They put out some PG version where all the body horror stuff is removed. Then it doesn't exactly work there, because you are fundamentally changing the story. And this, you could say that, I guess, reducing the difficulty fundamentally changes the way the game is designed. I guess I can understand that to some point, in the same way that you can argue that horror games that provide you with safe modes, typically, is what you would call them, that ruins the experience by taking away the threat of death from them. And the thing is, with that argument, while I guess I can understand your point of view to an extent, you still have the regular default way to play the game. So again, they're not removing the intended way to play it, the way it was designed to be played, so on and so forth. They're just giving more people the chance to play it. They're opening up an experience. I always use this example. I hate not survival horror. I hate hide and seek horror games. I hate horror games where you have no way of defending yourself and all you're able to do is run and hide. I don't find that fun. I find that tense for sure, like it's supposed to be, yes, but I find it very frustrating and annoying. And that kept me from ever playing Soma for so long because I'm just not that type of, but I just don't like that experience. I don't enjoy that. I enjoy the tensity of survival horror games when I still feel like I have some way to combat whatever's coming at me, the opposing force, like in Resident Evil 2 or 3 with Mr. X or Nemesis, stuff like that. But games where you can't do anything but run and hide doesn't work for me. But eventually, I think maybe alongside the console release, the Soma developers added, and this was something that was modded into the game on PC for a very long time, but they officially added a safe mode. And thanks to that, I was able to experience what I think is one of the best stories I've ever experienced in a video game. And sure, you could say my overall experience was a bit lesser because I didn't have to worry about dying through the things that are there to kill you if you are not playing on safe mode. But what's better? Me having a slightly lesser experience than you, or me having no experience at all? So that you, a lover of Soma, can look at me and say, I'm glad you didn't get to play this game because you can't do this genre. Or, hey, I'm so glad you were able to play Soma now thanks to this safe mode, so that we both were able to enjoy this game, even though our experiences are slightly different for this reason and that reason. I just don't understand the mindset around for those who look at stuff like this and think, no, this is a bad idea. How? Why? What does it take away from your experience? Nothing. Just shut the fuck up and let more people enjoy a game. What is it? Elden Ring sold incredibly well, but there are definitely these people who can't handle Elden Ring. Let them. That's what I say. In the grand scheme of difficulty in games, whether it be Souls or not, I say let them. What say you? Anywho, let's get on to what I've been playing starting with Undivine. This is a Metroidvania with very lo-fi pixel graphics that are nice, but the lo-fi nature of them make the potentiality of really interesting creature design and whatnot harder, at least in what I've experienced so far, because you're going through this dungeon. I don't remember the story. It's very, very talky at the start with some very flowery language through all these characters, and every time I run into an NPC and they talk, they just talk in a very flowery way that I find very annoying. So story-wise, I have no idea what's going on, and I don't really care. But I played it for a few hours or so, beat a few bosses, and I think from a gameplay standpoint, it feels really good. It controls incredibly well. It's very tight. I was flying through areas because I felt very in control of my character. I currently have the ability to dash through. I just got the ability to dash through these specific barriers, but it also allows me to do long jumps. And then I have my sword. I have my basic jump and a little magic attack that I can use to activate doors. I think it feels really, really good. And like I said, I can just fly through areas and never feel like I missed this or missed that because the controls are a little off. It feels very, very tight. So I like playing it from that sense. However, the actual world isn't, so far at least, that interesting to explore. It's broken off into very clear subsections where you have this more dungeoneer. Now there's this area that's very spidery, and it's green and kind of dark and gloomy. I had to drink. And you hear me smack my mouth. I don't know why I did that. Great for the mic. But the world isn't that interesting to explore. And what I find incredibly frustrating and what is annoying from a Metroidvania design standpoint, and it's not something that's required, and the level of information you get in this sense is very variable from Metroidvania to Metroidvania. Some are very limited with what they give you, and then some give you a lot of information or even allow you, like with, I believe, the Lost Crown, is that the Prince of Persia one? Allowing you to add information to the map. But the map in this game tells you nothing. So you will come across save points, and that is a very Souls-like save point system in that when you save at a save point, all your health and magic is replenished, but then also enemies that you killed are also are respawned as well. But there isn't a Souls-like mechanic of you die, you lose all your stuff, go back there to collect your souls, nothing like that. But the map tells you nothing. Not where a save point is, not where a fast travel point is, not where you maybe found a specific type of door or passageway that you can't get through currently because you don't have the tools necessary to do it. You get nothing on it. So I find the map pretty useless outside of being able to show me, okay, I was in this room, but there are these 3 exits from it, and I didn't go through this exit, so clearly there's something blocking my way that kept me from there. What exactly is it? I don't know. And I don't need that information. That would be nice to have, sure. Being able to see, oh, this is where those specific types of doors were that I can now get to because I have this dash ability. I don't need that. But I would at the very least like to know where the save points I found are, where the fast travel points I found are. When you get unlock a fast travel point, it just adds it to a list and then tells you where it is, and that's it. But you can't see them on the map because the map is void of any information whatsoever outside of, hey, this is the map. I think they might have different colorization for the different areas, but I'm not even sure on that point. And that for me made the game very frustrating because I was playing it for a while, enjoying it, and then I wanted to take a break. I wanted to move on to something else, or I had to start my stream, something along those lines, or go to sleep. And I just wanted to save the game and close it. Well, I would leave it open for quick resume, but quick resume is not always the most reliable thing. It's fairly reliable. It's mostly reliable, but there are times where a game will close for this reason or that reason, or whatever. So I like to be able to save as just a precaution. Even though quick resume is nice and it's pretty reliable, I still want that cushion. I want that safety net. So me trying to find where any save point was became this, maybe in the grand scheme of things, only a 5-minute trek, maybe close to 10 minutes maybe. But the fact that I had to just run around this environment trying to find somewhere I can save so that I could quit the game was frustrating. And the thought of having to do that anytime that situation came up really annoyed me. So I think the game is good from a gameplay standpoint, but again, I think so far, enemy designs pretty limited. It's just stuff like, oh, here's a little walking zombie dude. Here's a cobra. Here's a bat. Here's a spider. Here's a flying golem. There's nothing, and with the lo-fi nature of it, they're not super cool versions of any of that stuff. It's very basic, very simple stuff, but it feels good. It's just, if something like the map stuff would annoy you, keep that in mind. That is, again, though, Undivine. Next, we have Spellcaster University. This is a game I was really excited to play because I looked at it and thought it was going to be something like a fantasy school, a Hogwarts version of Sim Tower or Fallout Shelter, the like. And instead, it's a kind of game like that, and probably closer to something like Fallout Shelter, but with a card drafting, deck building mechanic behind it, where instead of earning funds and using those funds, well, I mean, I guess you technically do. It's weird. You have your initial opening funds and your deck, and you build out your thing, and then through your classrooms and various random encounters, you're earning various points in these different classes, whether it be nature magic, arcane magic, assassination, not magic, just assassination points, or dark shadow magic, maybe, I guess it is, light magic. There's also gold for more basic rooms. And when you get enough money to, what would you say, not draft a card, but to pull a card, I guess, you will pull a card from that specific class of magic, and it'll be a random card, and then you can decide, or no, I think when you do that, you get you pull 3 cards every time you pay for one of these things, and every time you pay for one of them. So at the start, when you're building out your school, you will have, or the cost of these things will be 100 points, just 100 points. And with each additional draw from that specific deck, it'll go up by 50. So the next one will be 150, 200, 250, so on and so forth. When you draw from that deck, you'll draw 3 cards, and then you get to pick one of them that you put in your hand, and then you use it. And whether it be a room, you'll add that room to your school's layout, or it's an item you can put in a room that will give the people in there some kind of perk, some kind of buff, and so on and so forth. And through all of this, you are getting students who are applying to your school. You'll put them in various classes that I don't know how they affect, and there'll be random encounters happening that will involve you interacting with the town or the opposing orcs and whatnot. And all of this is building towards, I think, maybe after 10 years or so, the big final climactic battle-ish thing, where to me it was just, okay, now everyone that is in your school has graduated, and this is how many stars you earned from your school over the years. This is what your reputation was. It felt pretty anticlimactic, but I played through an entire run of the game. I think I scored very poorly, and part of it is because I didn't really get a good sense of what my goal was, what the game wanted from me, because there's no money system in that. While there is a gold system in there, when you hit 0, it just limits your options. So when you are having some of these random encounters and some of the options there require you to have a certain amount of gold, you can't do them because you have no gold. But you don't have to worry about income. I feel like there's NPC happiness and stuff like that, but there's nothing that forces you to do something or things. I think it's just a sense of, if you really want to score high, you need to do these things, but there's no fail state, I guess is how I would put it. It all felt very, I don't know. I want to say hands off. I just didn't like this whole setup. I wanted a sandbox mode, I guess, where I could play it like a more traditional simulation game. But all there is I think your standard campaign mode with various starting areas that will give you certain types of perks, whether it be you're in the forest and the students who will go there will be poor usually, or you go to this imperial part and then the students are from rich families, and then there's some other kind of negative that's attributed to them. But you just have that, and then I think a quick play mode which removes any kind of narrative, which seemed very light in the main mode anyway. But you just have the one save file, so you can't have multiple playthroughs going at the same time. But I just found it very frustrating. I looked at it and thought, this isn't exactly what I wanted, but I kind of see the potential here. I just don't think it really came together in a way that I at least found super engaging and interesting. I think maybe it was a bit too hands-off in terms of really helping me understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. Because there was a tutorial to start it off, but it didn't really make me feel like, this is why I should care about this bit and that bit, and how adding this wandering animal to this section or adding this kind of piece of furniture to this room is going to affect it in a way that I should care about. So it just felt very mindless, felt empty playing it. I turned up the speed very quickly. Sometimes orcs would attack and my students, I guess, would defeat them, and I didn't really see the purpose of that, what I got out of it, how it affected I don't know. I don't know anything that happened in this game other than I just played through it, and I built a large school, and a lot of students graduated, and when they graduated, shit happened, and I felt very empty of anything playing the game, sadly. That is Spellcaster University, though. Maybe it'll click with you. Then I played Knight's Night. That is Knights with a K, Night with an N. And this is a pretty simple side-scrolling platformer where your character, the game is in black and white, and your character looks very, very Shovel Knight-y. But in my handful of levels that I played, it's just very, very basic and void of anything, really. It felt fine, but unless I'm missing something, the levels didn't really have any kind of cool discoveries to find. There's no reason to go off the beaten path. You might get a little bit of lore. I think I went in a different direction, found a sign that said something, and I was like, okay, that's it. But there's no cool thing to find. The enemies that I've encountered so far, I don't engage with them. I just avoid them, and I keep going forward and avoid dangerous obstacles like spikes in the ground, and that's it. So it's fine, but it doesn't do anything to stand out outside of having decent black and white pixely visuals, which aren't the best by any means, but they look nice enough. But yeah, it didn't do a whole lot to engage me in any way. The music was okay. I guess that's something. But that's Knight's Night. Then Super Engine GT Turbo SPEC. This is a cartoony racer with kind of toy car looking visuals that has, I think, 4 different championships. I think it was it Novice, Junior, there are four different championships of varying difficulty. Of course, they get more challenging. I beat the first one, played maybe about half of the second, and that was enough for me because the only difference I could see between the two championships was maybe the second one was a little bit faster, but the difficulty of the vehicles, the AI, was no different. So they were still as good, or in my case, I would say as bad as they were in the easier difficulty. So it may be a little bit more challenging in the sense that everything's moving a wee bit faster. But outside of that, it's a very easy racer where you don't have to worry about braking much at all, if at all, depending on the course during turns. So it's a very mindless racer. It controls fine, but the fact that you don't really have to think too much about any part of the racing, where in terms of braking or anything like that, and there's no differentiation between the vehicles. It's all cosmetic. So there's not this car has slightly better acceleration but lower top speed, or this one has better top speed or high speed and agility or acceleration, but its turning is less. There's nothing. Every car drives exactly the same because it's just the same car with a different skin. It's a skin game, not a tuning game. And I think that is part of what makes it, you could say, accessible, because you don't have to think about any of that stuff. But at the same time, it makes it so that there really isn't any kind of challenge there. And you don't have to think about what your strengths and weaknesses are and finding the vehicle that plays to your strengths and weaknesses, because every car plays the same and plays relatively easily. So it's a fine time waster for a few hours to get through all the championships, but after that, there's no real reason to keep playing it. And even while playing it, you'll probably get to a point where it just kind of is rinse and repeat, and you're not feeling very invested in it because of how relatively easy and mindless it all is. That is again the Super Engine GT Turbo SPEC. Then the continuation of the Royal Romances line of point and click hidden object adventure games. We have Royal Romances Endless Winter, and this is the this is the next game in the line, but I think this is technically the start of season 2 of the storyline. I think that's how it was poised. But and what I played this one, it's the same old thing of I don't love the story in it because it does feel AI and all that, but it has that same perfectly fine hidden object gameplay where you're clicking around an environment, looking for objects. You'll focus in on a specific area, get everything you can, and there'll be times where you interact with an object and you do some kind of mini game, whether it's taking a piece of paper and it's been torn to pieces and you're putting it back into alignment, or looking at a specific area and having to find where it's more the hidden object type of thing, where it's like, okay, find this book, find these ice shards, find so on and so forth. And I always appreciate that with at least this, a lot of the things that you were asked to do that are more than just hidden object discovery, they'll give you the option. Not always. There was, I think, one of them that they didn't, but they'll often give you the option to do a match 3 game instead, which is just a nice way of saying, okay, if you don't want to do this mini game, here's just a simple match 3 game that you can do to progress. But the thing about this game that I don't like over the other one is that with it taking place in winter, endless winter that is, so far at least, the environments I've been in are all very snowy, obviously, to go with that theme. But with that theming, they're pretty boring because it's just a lot of white everywhere. And I'm white. I'm really white. I live in Chicago. We get a lot of snow in winter. So maybe not the last few years. I feel like we've missed out. But as nice as snow can be, it just makes everything fucking white. And therefore you lose a lot of the vibrancy, the color of the world that you could have possible, like in the earlier Royal Romances games, which I really liked and appreciated in these lines of hidden object games. So you miss out on that, at least early on so far. And I think that takes away from the experience. It makes it a slightly lesser experience than the other ones, because I find that the appeal of these games is the gameplay, if that really speaks to you, but also the visuals. And it's just not as nice to look at as the other Royal Romances games. But if you are a fan of these games and you just eat them up, this is another one that's made its way to consoles. And if you actually do partake in the story, it continues that as well. So check it out. Royal Romances Endless Winter. Then Red Solstice 2 Survivors is this interesting game that seems to be wanting to take a lot from a lot of games. In some ways, it feels or reminds me a lot of the Alien Breed trilogy from the Xbox Live Arcade days. They were also on PC. And it kind of mixes some XCOM in it, because it's a twin sticky shooter game, but you have the ability to go into Overwatch at any point so that it'll shoot for you in a very kind of Survivors-like experience. But it just feels like it's trying to do too much. And while it's possible that a game could pull this off, this is not the one to do it. The UI and the menus are very clunky and busy in a way that I found really imposing. Oh my god, that's a new one. I didn't check because I guess I have so much. I feel like the hard drive should not be that full up. Anyway, got cut off. The recording stopped because I didn't have sufficient space on the hard drive. So we're back where we left off at Red Solstice 2 Survivors, where I was talking about, I believe, the menus being cumbersome and all that jazz. They are. And I just need to recollect myself. But I just found them very unpleasant to navigate, and there's just a lot going on in there. And the controls of the game in-game are cumbersome. You have all these sub areas and whatnot. It just doesn't feel like great on a gamepad specifically. I'm playing on controller. But on top of that, it was buggy and janky. I had to replay the tutorial multiple times because when I first picked up the satchel, it just disappeared from my inventory. And there were things in the tutorial where it would ask me to do something, I would do it, and it would act like I didn't do it. And that was frustrating. Or either it just wasn't clear in what exactly it wanted me to do input-wise. And so while I did what it showed me or said I should do, it actually wanted me to do something else. I'm not sure. But also, performance-wise, it did... when more stuff happened on screen, it would drop significantly. And it was just a bit of a janky, funky experience, which was unfortunate. So yeah, that's Red Solstice 2 Survivors. Then the last game I played is Drug Dealer Simulator, which is to go off of that buggy train, to continue on that buggy train, just buggy as all hell. Some stuff not showing up at times. The visuals were a bit wonky, and eventually, after about maybe 45 minutes in, because I was just meandering about. I never hit a save point apparently, but at one point I got into a menu, and the pop-up for that menu, I really couldn't do anything with it. I tried to close it, it wouldn't close, and it just stayed on screen no matter what I did. And I tried going in other menus to switch it over, to do anything to get this menu out of my face and allow me to keep playing it normally without this thing obstructing the vast majority of the screen. But I couldn't. I had to quit out of the game, and when I did, I lost all of my progress and had to restart the game over from the very beginning. And at that point, I said to myself, I'm good. This game was already really janky with some very not good voice acting, not great visuals, whatever gameplay. In what I played, you are this drug dealer and you go around to various drops, collect the drugs, then deal them as the drug dealer would do to people who have requested, who give you a little call and you're like, all right, you go here. There were times also, like, I got messages on my phone and it would tell me when I looked at my phone, the lock screen, it would say, you have new messages from all these people. I go to my messages app. There's nothing in here. Not even things saying I already read. It's just an empty white screen. Is stuff supposed to be here? Because if there is supposed to be things here, they're not here. So I don't know what was going on with that either. But when I had that one bug that I couldn't get rid of and I had to quit out and I lost all my progress, that was enough for me to say, maybe I'll come back to this silly little janky thing when that's resolved. But until then, I'm not gonna touch this thing anymore. So yeah. Anywho, that's gonna do it for this episode of the Pixelated Sausage Show. Once again, I am Marcus Nez. Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you enjoy this here show or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/PXS. There you can get access to a monthly Q&A, private Discord channel, along with some fancy Discord roles, and the random drop on the Patreon here or there, depending on your tier. Or you could just support me to support me if that is your fancy. That is, again, patreon.com/PXS. In addition to the Patreon, you can find links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, and so much more over at pxsausage.com. That is the letter P, the letter X, sausage.com. But that is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoyed this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. But for now, adios, arrivederci, bye bye. It's go time, go daddy. It's go time.